I would tell myself and to tell any younger player that's about to have their first year overseas, um, it's nothing like what you expect it's going to be. It was great. Even all the babchas looking at me because I look different in the city. Like, I want to be the number one player development coach in Poland. I believe that there's a need for the players to be developed. I think he's the Polish favorite. I think if we had to vote right now, who would be the president of the Polish league from all the players, it would be him.
Hello, Ray. Big thanks for joining my podcast. It's a great pleasure to host you. Great pleasure to see you. And yeah, I'm very happy that you accepted my request.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited and I look forward to your questions.
When I was doing research, I found out that you set a challenge to yourself that during these playoffs you will speak Polish. So how this challenge is going?
It's going. It's going. It's on the move. I think it's going to be game time decision. So no, I try to practice a little bit and here and there. It's hard when I'm on the spot. I think that's what I really need to get better at.
But what is the hardest thing for you about the Polish language?
To remember. So it's because nothing connects in English.
Yes, like many.
I think I have the pronunciations right, like the ch and sh and Szczecin and all these different things. I think I can do these pretty well, but just remembering the words for specific things, it's difficult, and all the conjugations.
Yeah, there are some examples in Polish league that foreigners can learn Polish, like Barret Belson is trying because he's got a Polish wife. I know that Marko Legowicz, coach of Dziki, during a press conference, he's trying to say like Polish verbs, Polish words. So like you have some competitors.
We'll see. I think I'm pretty solid. I think I just need to go forward and do it. That's all.
And talking about basketball, I don't want to make you old, but this year you will be 36. You spent few years already. Oh man, you spent already.
My fiance does that too. I just turned 35. Let me have the year for a second.
Yeah, you have a birthday in November. I have birthday in December, so I always say that I have 1 year less because
exactly.
Yes, but. This is your fifth season, sixth season in Poland. Like you spent so many years in Poland, and it's over 10 years of pro career. And I'm wondering, does your body feels this 10 plus years of career?
Oh, of course, of course, my body feels it. But I just make sure I focus on rehab more. Then I put a lot more attention to my body off the court than I used to. So when I get on the court, then I don't really feel it so much.
And does your playing style change because of that, because of the age?
I think because as the wiser you get, the more the game slows down for you. So you don't need to move so fast. You don't need to, be frantic and crazy. You can kind of just see the plays coming. And if you need to be fast, then you can be, obviously. But I think it's just the more knowledge that you have, the easier the game is.
I'm wondering, because when I spoke about you with many people from Polish league, everybody said about you, first thing that comes to their mind talking about you is like you are the great shooter, like your shooting abilities. And I'm wondering that the skills, that the fact that you like to shoot threes, it was something that you developed already as a pro player, or since a kid you were like the kid who liked to shoot from the distance?
I developed it. I think that since I was 16, I believe. So before I was 16, I couldn't shoot the ball. I could barely make free throws. I was actually a post player. So it was crazy. But I knew how to put the ball in the basket. So, but I dedicated that year to staying in the gym, and I shot. I can't even count how many shots I took, and I turned myself into a shooter, and that's how I was able to get recruited to colleges, and then it kind of became my staple, and I've always took pride to try to be the best shooter on the court every time I get on the court.
When you realize that because of basketball you can have like full scholarship, maybe you could play professionally, do you have like the one season, maybe one tournament, one game that makes you believe, okay, this is not a dream, this is now a challenge?
Yeah. Since I was a kid, I always wanted to play in the NBA, obviously. And, I was growing up, I was always better than all of my classmates and teammates. I was, one of the top players in my state. And I think that once I was a sophomore in high school, I started playing varsity, so playing from 14, I started playing against 18-year-olds when I was 14. And I think my coach gave me my first college offer letter when I was 15. And he told me that I had it when I was 14, but he didn't want to give it to me. So,
So what made you choose Santa Clara?
the palm trees and the weather. I came from Minnesota and it was freezing cold. Actually, a lot like this winter storm that just happened. It's very, very cold. So when I saw the palm trees, the weather, the fact that I would be able to play right away as a freshman, that's kind of what, solidified my decision. And it was a great school.
It's interesting what you said that, you said that at the time you were one of the best or even the best player in your team, in your region. When I hear the story from other NBA players, they said that, okay, growing up, everyone is like top prospect in their school, top prospect in the region. But when it comes to the NCAA, okay, you play against other top prospects.
Yeah.
So what was like, it was hard for you to adapt to NCAA style when it comes to, because you play against, top teams with NBA prospects on their rosters.
Yeah. I don't think it was difficult for me to adapt. I think that, my game at that point in college, it didn't grow as much as it did in high school. So like high school, my development was, straight up. I only got better and better and better. And then in college, I started to, I think I maybe put too much pressure on myself or tried to, be too much into the team. And I didn't get, better as fast. And so then I wasn't the superstar on the team. I only averaged like 10 points, I think. And, at the end of the day, who knows? Maybe that could have hurt me, maybe not, but we don't know. So.
And what are your thoughts when you see how NCAA look right now, today, when you hear the stories that guys with G League or even NBA, like overseas experience, can go back to school, like the money, because, I remember I spoke with Cameron McGusty, and he said to me that when he was playing for Oklahoma, he received like $700 or $1,000 per month, and now you hear the guys like the Bansa or like other top prospects, like they earning already millions, and they don't have to even to go pro to already be set up for the rest of their lives. So when you hear these stories, and especially like older coaches hate this revolution, are you like staying with this opinion, okay, this is a good, or maybe you stay with opinion, this is a destroying NCAA basketball?
I think it's mixed, because I think it's good that the players are getting paid. I just think it's too much too fast. It became a whirlwind. It's like everybody who's okay at basketball hit the lottery. And they all overnight, they become, 100,000, million, 500,000, whatever kind of money they're getting. And, nobody teaches them what to do with it. You know, it was before it was like, okay, you're going to make it to the NBA and you have to learn in the NBA. And still it was a big shock, you know, when these new rookies from in the NBA are getting this big checks. So now the check's still coming, but it's just coming at an even earlier age. And I think that this is, you know, what the kids aren't prepared for. I mean, maybe they are, but, you know, I think that it's kind of messing up the game. It's messing up the psychology of the game.
For me, it was shocking thing that when I heard the story from Polish players who played in NCAA years ago, that even if coach would, you know, like you to take you to his car to drive you somewhere, it was like violating of the NCAA rules. Like even you couldn't receive any like the T-shirt or something because already you could be sanctioned by NCAA, and now you heard about this million. It for me is like strange thing.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's crazy. I have my times where I mean, I'm still like, you know, if I tell you I was a top prospect in high school, like I should have a nice sized bank account right now if, you know, if I was to get paid to go to college. Yeah. But that's not the case. So obviously I'm over it a little bit, and I'm happy for the kids. And I just hope that, you know, they have somebody guiding them to the right direction. And, you know, they still keep the love for the game and try to make the game, you know, stay pure, because with all this money and politics and everything, you know, the game is kind of getting watered down, and, you know, there's not as much passion in it anymore.
And how you feel after playing 4 years in NCAA and going to the Netherlands, because it was like first clubs in Netherlands, the country that it's not like related to basketball. They didn't have like top basketball teams, basketball traditions. Okay, there was some single players, but generally like comparing to other leagues that you played later, it was it wasn't the same level. So tell me, what was like your first memories when you went overseas?
My first memories was the gym was cold. They told me it was a brand new gym. They had just built it maybe a year ago, and it was cold. The bleachers were made of steel. The wood floor was very hard to run on. So after you run on it for 3 weeks, your knees start to hurt. And it was a big shock. You know, there wasn't so many fans at the games, and huge. So like I said, huge culture shock. But, you know, it was a good experience. It really showed me that I loved the game of basketball. It showed me that it didn't matter when or where, even though, you know, some games I felt like I was playing at the local gym with 5-on-5 with my friends and still getting paid. But I think that was like my first impression. It was interesting.
Sometimes you posting on your Instagram like the tips for other basketball players who going overseas, and I'm wondering what was like the first life lesson you learned about the playing overseas that you now teaching other like younger players.
Like I would tell myself and to tell any younger player that's about to have their first year overseas, it's nothing like what you expect it's going to be. You know, so you got to stay mentally ready to handle the unexpected, because a lot of players, they have a routine, they have different, you know, things that they like to do before the games, different ways they like to eat or how they like to get to the games. And every country, every team, it's always a little bit different, especially if let's say you go from Netherlands to France. It's completely different. The setup is different. The way they approach the game is different. So you have to make sure that you're mentally ready for those changes.
It's good that you said this, because from time to time I'm seeing on TikTok other like overseas players that don't play in like top leagues, maybe in the lower leagues, like I don't know, like Bulgaria, Cyprus, Sweden, etc. And sometimes they're showing like the flats that the clubs provides, and I'm like seeing this and wondering, why you play for like $1,000 or $2,000 and you have like just one room with mattress on the floor because you don't even have a bed. And sometimes when I show like these things, I think, why you want to play with, like that in the club? But there I coming to realize, okay, all these American players growing up, they don't dream about playing in Europe or EuroLeague. They dream about playing in NBA. And I'm wondering, how is like when you grow up about playing NBA? You see all these great facilities, all this recovery, all this gym equipment. And you're going to sometimes to the club when you are only one, like for example, for foreigner, you are only one player that is, let's say, pro, because other players sometimes have also another work,
second job.
And this is like, for me, was a strange thing. And I thinking, how is like from the American perspective to live like that? This is like living of the dream, thinking, okay, maybe I have to sacrifice 1, 2, 3 years, because maybe in the 4th or 5th year I will start making good money.
Yeah, I think that if you ask me, I think it's just the challenge more. So most players, they're not willing to give up on the dream, because even at a young age, let's say most players start playing basketball when they're 13, 12, maybe even 10. And, by the time they're 22, they get out of college, they did their 4 years. They've already put 12 years, 10 years into basketball. So it's hard to just say like, all right, I need to pivot and do something else, especially if you're talented. So I think it's the enticement of being able to make it to EuroLeague, which is, nowadays it's a lot more popular. People start to know about it on social media and everything. And it's basically, they treat you really well. And in the top countries also, maybe not EuroLeague, but there's a lot of good teams that have a lot of good structures and organizations, and to be able to make it. And I think that also, guys start to understand that you get to use basketball to enhance your life, because you get to travel to places you never thought you would travel to. And you get to see things and experience different cultures. You get to broaden your education if you expand out while you go to these different countries. And it makes it a lot more interesting to be able to, use basketball to fulfill your life.
And what was so good in France that you felt so good, that you played so good? Because you put some good numbers during your times in France. So I'm wondering, and of course it was much better league than Dutch league, the Netherlands league. So how you felt in France, and what makes you so good there?
I felt it was amazing. Like I was younger in my career. I still had this ambition, to maybe there's still a chance that the NBA will see me. And, in France, it was, like I said, it was more like a college feel. You go to the facilities and, everything is pretty well organized. They have gyms that fit more than 4,000, 5,000 people, good fans, good money. So, the incentive was there. It was, almost feeling like, okay, if I can make it here, then, I can maybe get to the NBA. And I think that, this kind of is what drove me. Plus the players, obviously, if you have great competition that you got to play against every night, then you either have to show up or you have to go back down to where you came from.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you've been 2 times in the summer league with Grizzlies, right?
Yes.
So how this happened? How you remember your times in summer league with Grizzlies?
How did it happen? It was just connections. As when I was going throughout my pro career, I started playing everywhere that I could, especially in America. I played in the Drew League. I played in the San Francisco Pro-Am, all these different summer leagues. I worked out with different college coaches from San Diego and San Francisco and all over, University of Minnesota. So after I had a decent year, it was kind of like, okay, and I got a phone call, and that was pretty much it. And, once I got there, it was, an amazing experience. I kind of was a little bit jittery, or maybe I would say even nervous, because I wasn't really expecting it. It kind of came out of nowhere. And, I've been working out, I've been training, but, when you get there, it's a lot different. It was even difficult, let's say, to even just make a basic pass. Guys are longer, guys are more athletic. So you really had to adjust your game really fast. Unfortunately, I wish I could have got more playing time, but I can say maybe that's a little bit of politics, but who knows?
But playing in summer league, okay, you didn't have the chance to have a chance to play in NBA yet.
Yes.
But like playing and living with other guys and being with the team, NBA team during summer league. To be honest, did you felt like you experienced NBA environment, or can we even compare like summer league to the like regular season of NBA?
Yeah, I don't think you can compare summer league to the NBA season. I think summer league is more like it's more like a tryout. Like you still get,
Yeah.
everything fantastic. You get good facilities, you get good meals, you get paid, and you get opportunity to play against some of the top talent that's going to go into the next league, and you get to play in front of, legendary guys. Like I got to play in front of Larry Bird and Magic Johnson and a couple of other great players. So it's an amazing experience for that. But I think as far as getting to the league where they have, 5 or 6 different trainers, 5 or 6 different assistant coaches, maybe one assistant coach is assigned just for you to get shots up. Another assistant coach is assigned for you to, do ball handling and stuff, a strength coach and food and diet. And, the resources are endless in the NBA. So I think that the summer league, it's like I said, it's basically like a tryout, but it's definitely still a level up and, they take care of you.
You had also a chance to play in D-League, now G-League. Some players, from time to time, I hear a discussion. What is the better to get noticed by NBA scouts? To play in G-League or to play overseas at the good level?
Wow. Now that's a tough question. I'm a little bit removed from it. I think nowadays, with the way that the scouting is done in the NBA and in Europe, I think it's fairly easy to get a job in the NBA after playing well in Europe. I think it's almost comparable. And now if you look at most of the NBA superstars, they're European or they're not from America. So I think that there's a big market for guys that understand how to play, but still, have the athletic and skill set, to showcase what the NBA really wants is to put buckets and create highlights. But they also want guys that understand the game and know how to play.
Before we talk about Poland, I have to ask you about New Zealand chapter of your life because
New Zealand.
yeah, how was like to live and to play at the New Zealand? How the New Zealand basketball looked like? I know that, for example, Luther Muhammad who's now playing in Dąbrowa. He played so good in New Zealand, but it wasn't NBL league. It was like domestic New Zealand league. So tell me more. Yeah, tell me more about your time in New Zealand.
It was fantastic. First of all, I love that country. Everybody's just chill, relaxed. They really support you. It's like I was in Nelson, and it was like a family down there. You walk down the street and everybody says hi and everybody's friendly. There's no worries in the world. And if you do have a worry, you just walk to the beach. So that was kind of like the lifestyle. The league was actually better than you would expect because a lot of guys from the NBL go down and play in that league. A lot of good, solid Americans. And at the time, there was 3 imports on a team. Well, when I played, there was 2. I think now there's maybe 3. And those imports are very good. And a lot of times the local players are good. The better local players play in the NBL. And some of the local players, they don't, but they still are, pretty solid. So you always had a good matchup every night against another American or an NBL player with the chance to get, seen by the NBL league.
And when it comes to the finance, it's a solid league?
Yes. Oh, yes, for sure.
And when I was doing a research, I found out that, you said in one interview that your first 3 months in Poland was very tough. Why?
Yes. Because we can go about the mentality of it. I came from France I wanted to go back to France, so I wasn't really open to new adventures and new experiences like I talked about before today. So those first 3 months were tough because I was in small city, Spójnia,
Stargard, yeah.
and Stargard, yeah. And it was nice city after, I opened my eyes back up to the, adventure of being able to play basketball. So I think that was the hardest part, just the adjustment to, of my perception of the situation. After the first 3 months, after the language and after the small city, I really, became friends with the people in the city. Number one at some of the local restaurants. And it was great. Even all the babchas looking at me because I look different in the city. So yeah.
But be honest, did you know anything about Poland or Polish basketball before you signed a contract?
I knew nothing. I only knew what my agent told me.
So what your agent told you?
My agent said, you're going to make this much money. You're going to go to a small city. You're probably going to be the only black person there. And, that's it. Just go do your job and we'll get you a better deal.
And when it comes to the mentality, because when I spoke with foreigners who play in Poland, they said like the first thing they realized, like dealing with Polish people, was that, okay, Polish people don't like small talk and don't smile.
Yeah, this is true. I think that I can see that, but I think I've been fortunate enough to come across a lot of, more positive Polish people.
And
So,
talking about sports side, how was your first months in PLK, in Spójnia? How was like to adapt to Polish league style? Because from what I know from the stories of the foreigners, number one thing they mentioned about Polish league is that Polish league is very physical. That referees allow for much contact, and some foreigners don't like this. And what about you? How this process of adaptation to Polish league and to team went?
so I think I adapted pretty well because I grew up playing a physical style basketball. They say like on the East Coast in America, it's more, physical, tough, especially, around Chicago, Midwest area. And then on the West Coast, it's more, flashy moves and don't touch me and more like LaMelo, let's say. So it was kind of like, okay, I've experienced this before and I'm comfortable with it. Plus, I'm also smarter. And, at the time, I think just a little bit younger.
But it was already, few years younger, let's say.
Yeah,
But changing Spójnia for Legia was somehow difficult. Did you experience like the change when it comes to the quality of the players, quality of the game?
I wouldn't say it was difficult. I think there was more expectation in Legia. I think the organization, wanted to, they had clear goals and what they wanted to achieve. They had a clear, plan in place to try to achieve it. And I think it was actually, it was good. It was, let's say like at the time, Spójnia was just coming up. I think they had been in the first league for 1 or 2 years before I got there. So to go from that to a team that's, okay, they consistently have been solid and now they want something more, you could see that. So I think the players, the level of the Polish players was also a little bit better.
I remember in Spójnia you had the chance to play in Polish Cup finals, so that was like the surprise that Spójnia got to the finals. You were beaten by Zielona Góra. That was the last game of Ife Lundberg. Ife was amazing player, oh man. And later you play in Legia. You have won a silver medal with Legia because you lost the Śląsk Wrocław, and during your second time you won Polish Cup with Marek Popiołek, who just came as a coach, and you already won a Polish Cup. Tell me more about that cup, that new coach coming, as a head coach, and instantly won a Polish Cup. So how much of this success was because of the change of the coach, or maybe because of you? I mean, you as a players.
Yeah, I think that the team was already set up to be great from the beginning of the season. And a lot of times with teams, it's just a point of when they're going to connect and, come together to make something great. A lot of times teams take all season or it never works, or even organizations don't give it a chance to work. So with that said, I think once the coaching changed, I would say that it was the teammate, the guys that came together, and there's always a different energy when you change coaches and change anything in the team. So because there was a different energy, because there was just a different look, I think that us as players, we kind of just took control and we just decided to say like, all right, let's come together before one of us is going to be gone next. And, I think we really put it together and we kind of beat everybody pretty easily throughout the cup.
I think during that season you played with Christian Vital was like the key player. Yes, and during your first stint in Legia, one of the biggest stars were Robert Johnson, maybe. Yeah. And could you compare this guy, because these two guys were like one of the big leaders in the recent decade in Legia. Also, I don't mention Cameron Magasti because you don't play with him.
Yes.
But if you had to talk a little bit about these two guys, how it was like to play with, let's say, James Harden of Polish League, aka Robert Johnson, because sometimes when he looked like James Harden, and Christian Vital, who was sometimes he put some great numbers that was impressive.
Yeah. I can say the biggest difference was the energy. Robert Johnson was more quiet. He was more of like a Kawhi Leonard, just stoic. He didn't show so many emotions. He came in, he did his job, and he went home. He's like, don't ask me what I did for work today, but it was okay. CV, he's had a lot more character. He had a lot of energy. He had a lot of fire. He played with that energy and that fire and that passion to just be great and to try to help the team be great. And both of those energies were amazing. Both of them, in their own right, they play well and they both helped the team tremendously. So it was definitely a pleasure to play with both of them.
And it was easy for you to build a good relationship connection with Polish player. I mean, also in Spójnia or in Legia. For example, in Legia you had Darek Wyka, one of the most likable guys in the Polish league.
Yeah, I think he's the Polish favorite. I think if we had to vote right now who would be the president of the Polish league from all the players, it would be him.
But it was like, do you had any problems to like make a good relationship with the Polish guys, or you were the type of player who like to hang out with other foreigners? How this look in your case?
For me, I'm a pretty, easy person. So I think I can get along with everybody. And I think that I can have a good relationship with everybody as long as, I come with an open mind and I respect everybody's work and I respect the culture. So it was never really a problem for me to make friends. I have a lot of Polish friends. Every team we go to, I know somebody that I played with, and, we made a good connection. So I'm fortunate for that, that the guys accept me and that I reached out to be able to, have those relationships.
You said that now you have friends everywhere in Polish league. So I'm wondering, do you consider yourself as a Polish league vet?
Oczywiście. Yeah. No, I definitely believe I'm a Polish league vet. I start to understand the coaches. I know the players, and I really have a good feeling for, my opponents and my teammates. So it's cool.
And also tell me about your time in Dąbrowa. How will you remember your time in Dąbrowa?
That was a great experience for me, especially at that time of my career. We had a horrible time on the court. Yeah. I can even say, like, off the court, I didn't have such a great time either. the city is small and, there's not much to do. There's only the basketball court, which obviously you love that, but you need to kind of be able to take a break and to, recharge, and nicer cities are easier to do that in. So that was tough, but I would say like going through that toughest part, I got to learn about myself. I got to learn about, different players. I got to learn about a younger generation of players. I got to learn about a younger generation of players mixed with an old coach, not old, but older coach, with the old school style. And so, like I said, it was a great experience. After coming through that tough time, we came together and we made a clear goal, like not to get relegated. And that's what we did. And after it can be looked at as a success.
Yeah, for me, it was very surprising thing about Dąbrowa, because I remember I was at the beginning of that season. You came to Legia and you won this game, and I think you ended this game with like the three at the end of the game. And I remember I spoke with Markusson. He had a good game. Everything seems to be good, because previous season Dąbrowa advanced to the quarterfinals with Coach Brea, but then it was for me shock. And the next shock was how the new coach came and like make this team play good again, good enough to secure a spot for the next season. So I'm wondering what coach changed in this team that you started playing better.
Like I said, anytime you have a change in coaching staff or even a change in players, the energy in the whole team can change. It can go up, it can go down, it can stay the same, but usually sometimes it changes. You don't know if it's going to be for good or for bad. So fortunately for us, when the new coach came in, we were tired of losing. Everybody was a little bit lost. Nobody wasn't really sure what to do. And, coach just helped us tough it out, say that it's not going to be easy. He believed in us. And after that, we followed his lead and we went on and did the job.
And what makes you to sign a contract with Trefl Sopot? I know from interview that you had also offer from the Toruń, but this offer wasn't good enough good enough for you. So what makes you choose Trefl?
Obviously, it's a historic club in Poland now. They are known for winning the last year, third place, and 2 years ago, a championship. So, great city, obviously, So that's
for sure.
With those things alone, it's always nice to be able to come to a team that, if they offer you to be able to sign with a team like that. So I think that I just wanted to get to it next to the water also. That was a big thing for me.
You have again chance to work with Coach Larkas because you work with him in Finland. Yes.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And does he change since first time you work together?
Oh yeah. I think he's changed and I've changed. I think we're both obviously more experienced. We've seen a lot of different things. We've been around different leagues. We've seen different players. We've watched how basketball has grown. And, like I'm a little bit different player than I was when I was with him, and he's a little bit of a different coach. But I think it's both for the better. I think we really understand a lot more about the game and each other now.
And are you satisfied how this team were built for this season and how this team are performing?
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, I had confidence in Coach from the beginning, from my previous years. So with the players, obviously, I don't concern myself with who I'm going to play with. More so as how are we going to come together? Because like I said, that's the most important thing and what's going to determine if you win. And so I knew that the players and the talent would be there. Just us putting it together and doing what we've done this season. It's been pretty good so far. Obviously, we can be better, but we're enjoying where we're at right now. We'll keep pushing till the end.
And is there any other team in league that impress you right now? Or maybe single players?
I would say, I would say Wrocław. I think that they have a good balanced team. You know, they play well together. You know, they're big. They're a big roster, and I think that they have a lot of good potential to be able to, you know, be at the end.
You said earlier that you are not now consider yourself as a vet of Polish league, but what about being a vet in the team? Do you see, because you said that you also have a chance now to work with younger players, and
Yeah.
do you see like the teacher part, mentor part in yourself today?
Yeah, I see, you know, I can see on the court, you know, when when the younger players, you know, they get a little bit sped up or they're a little bit frustrated with situations, and not just on the court, off the court. Some of the same things that I went through, you know. So to be able to give them some knowledge, or if they ask me about, you know, hey, how does this work, or how can I get over this, to be able to help them is actually it's a blessing, and I enjoy it.
And what are the biggest difference between you at the age of these young guys who are now part of the team of Tref and them today?
What's the biggest difference?
What are the biggest difference between you at their age when you were coming to the pro basketball and this guy who coming to pro basketball right now?
I think one of the biggest differences is, let's say, like, I was a little bit more naive. I think the younger players today, they understand more about how to level up in Europe and how to, let's say, get seen by coaches and what different teams are looking for as far as playing wise. I didn't know any of that. So I think that sometimes that actually hurts them, because they're trying to play a certain way so they can get picked up by a certain team, and it kind of messes with their natural game. Whereas if they would maybe just go out and play, you know, their game the way they built themselves as a player, I think that maybe it might be a little bit more successful. So there's a fine balance to having knowledge and using it, and to just then letting it overbear you.
I have to switch topic for a little bit. Having a basketball player as a fiance is an advantage or disadvantage?
For me, she can hear you right now.
Oh!
No, for me, it's an advantage. And,
Blink eyes too fast if you...
Yeah. She's peeking over my curtain. No. No, for me, it's a big advantage. And I always say this, and I tell this to everybody, because she understands. You know, as a professional athlete, you know, it takes a lot. Like, sometimes you're in the gym for 3 hours practice and you have to do recovery. And then, you know, maybe coach calls you in for a film, and then you got to eat, and then you don't want to cook. So, like, you know, she understands everything, and she's been a blessing. She's been taking care of me and spoiling me rotten. So I'm happy for that.
I was impressed when I heard the story when you asked her parents for a blessing when you were propose.
Yeah.
How nervous you were?
Oh, I was shaking. I was shaking in my boots. And then I actually went over there, I believe, to pick up some food from her parents, or drop some food off. And she called me as I was leaving. And I was like, oh no, like, because I didn't want her to know. So I hang up on her. Well, I didn't hang up on her. I said, I gotta go. Let's go. Okay, hung up, and I went back, and, you know, I've had the translator out on the side of my phone. And then I brought the whole family to the table, and I sat down and asked them in Polish. And it was a special moment, but I was nervous and I was shaking pretty badly.
So I suppose you see your future right now in Poland.
Yes.
If I ask you where is your home, you will say Minnesota or Poland?
I would say Poland now.
So outside of, apart of the fact that you have a Polish wife, what makes you feeling so good in Poland, that you now feel so connected with this country?
It's simple here. I believe, in Poland, it's not so complicated. You people, they wake up, they go to work, they try to enjoy the holidays when they have holidays. And for the most part, like I said, I've met nothing but a lot of friendly people. So for me, that's kind of what I grew up in. The weather is similar to Minneapolis, just not as cold. So that's also nice. And I think that it's just a great place to be. I think it's central in Europe. Well, I know it's central in Europe, and you can get to any country easily from Poland. So, like I said, it's a great place to live. It's a great place to relax. It's a great place to raise a family, and beautiful scenery, beautiful parks. There's a lot. I can go on and on and on about Poland.
Many foreigners mentioning the fact that Poland is a safe country. Right now, we hear the story from America, from Minnesota, about what happening in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And when you hear what happening in Minnesota, knowing that you live in Poland, that is considered as a safe country, what you felt? What you are feeling?
It makes me want to get all my family members on a flight and bring them here. Really, because it's terrible what's happening, and it's sad that it's actually in my backyard, next to my mom and my younger brother. So with that, like I think about them a lot. I send them text messages more just to check on them, even though I know they're not doing much. But as we see, it's getting pretty out of hand over there. So.
Tell me about your basketball clinic project, because I saw that you're trying to be not a head coach, but someone like individual coach, personal development coach.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to push toward that direction?
So yeah, that's my thing. Like I want to be the number one player development coach in Poland. I believe that there's a need for the players to be developed. And I started, every time when you're with a team, you go to schools and you play with the kids, and, the kids are so happy and I get so much joy. But I also get joy from the game, and I also get joy from helping other players become better. And for me, so I started to really see that, after I got a few invitations to train some clients, I really felt a passion and a joy. And I really see that, Poland basketball can be really great in a few years with this younger generation. The only thing that's missing is the player development and the skill set. There's a lot of players that could be great, but the development is lacking a little bit, if you ask me, around with the youth in Poland.
And what are the key things you look at when you are coaching clients, players individually? What are the key things, fundamentals of your coaching philosophy, let's say?
Let's say if I had to say anything, to shoot the ball, obviously, this is one of the things I look at, and I'm very picky because let's say if you want to be a great basketball player, you can be a great basketball player, you can be a great rebounder, you can be a great hustle player, you can be a great defensive player. But if you ask me, the game is about putting the ball in the basket, right?
Yeah.
It's about getting buckets. So, I want to be able to teach the kids to do that at a high level, at a confident level, and then, work from there as far as, ball handling, shooting, reading the game. So I would say shooting, and then I would say just small details of the game. So the little details that maybe get overlooked, when you're going over your training, let's say you pull up and you pull up and you shoot it from your shooting pocket, but instead of shooting from your shooting pocket, if you get it higher and make it a higher shooting pocket, is that going to make your shot more efficient? Is it going to be harder to guard? Are you going to make more shots? These small little details that people don't really focus on with the youth. I think that this is my main focus with the youth.
Do you see yourself working with pro clubs, like top teams, adults pro players?
I think that maybe in the future, definitely it could be. I've worked out with a few pro players and here in Poland, actually with Kasper and Mark Garcia.
Yeah. Mark also have a Polish
Casper
girlfriend.
Gordon, yeah, with
Yeah.
Casper Gordon and Mark Garcia. So, and you can ask them how they felt about the workout with me, and yeah. So I had a lot of my fiance is telling me that I had worked out with a lot more people, but it's hard to name all their names. But
yeah, coming to the end, because we talk a lot about your basketball side, but do you have any like hobbies outside basketball that you can switch your mind off from basketball for a little bit, or maybe you are a guy that's thinking about basketball 24 hours per day?
I used to be this guy. Now I take more time away from it because I've been in the game for so long. So I started to play chess again. So I like to play chess, try to get my mind off of it. And I really like to, start to be on Instagram. So I like to start to share my story and to post reels and to start to, post workouts and different things for helping. And this is kind of an escape. It's still around the game, but it's something that I start to be passionate about.
But you said that, yeah, you used to be the guy that were thinking about basketball 24 hours per day. So what happened? Where this moment happened when you start to realize that, okay, basketball is big part of your life, but it's not definitely entire your life.
Yeah. I think I can say that this happened once my roles started to change on the court. Most of my career, I've been a starter. I've been a person that commands a lot of attention, commands the ball, and scoring most of the points. So once I saw my role change a little bit, once I went to Hungary, and then again in the year when we won this cup, I started to be extremely frustrated, and I didn't really know how to handle it. So I started to understand that I need to take a little bit of time away and come back so that, I can still play the game the right way and be the professional that I need to be.
Do you see yourself playing pro basketball at the age of 40?
It's definitely possible. I think so. My goal is I want to be able to play. I want my kid to see me play. So boy or girl, I want them to be at the game, and I want them to be able to understand what they're watching.
So you have to play for like 10, 15 years.
Yeah. I think if we get started now, then it won't be so long. But
apart of staying healthy, what I can wish to you?
Oh, that's a great question. Oh, I would just take continued success and to be able to help develop the youth and basketball players around the world and continue success in my career.
So I wish you this, and I wish you to enjoy playing basketball as you enjoy today. It was a great pleasure to speak with you. It was a great pleasure to hear your story. Dziękuję, Ray.
Dziękuję.
Yeah, it was a big pleasure.
Say it again, sorry.
It was a big pleasure to hear your stories.
Yes, it was a pleasure for me too. And thank you for the questions. You actually was really good questions because you made me think about a lot of different things outside basketball. And I couldn't just give you straight normal answers. So that was really great. Thank you for that.